It's misleading, Becky, to say, as the Prime Minister, the Iraqi Prime Minister says, that it's only basically a sectarian conflict spilling over from Syria into Iraq. It's basically a severe political crisis. The Iraqi political system set up by the Americans after the invasion basically is dysfunctional. That is not working. And the country, of course, is polarized along ideological, sectarian and political lines. And yes, the spillover from Syria into Iraq has exacerbated an already dangerous situation, in particular sectarian situation. It all started here on the 23rd of April in Hawija, where government forces, using massive force, basically stormed a sit-in protest, killing 51 people and injuring 120 Sunni Arabs. These protesters, like other protesters in the rest of the Arab world, are calling for a bigger say, a bigger voice in the political system in Iraq, because the system is seen by a majority of Sunnis in this part of Iraq as basically not representing the Sunni community. The central government in Baghdad is seen as a Shia-led government as opposed to being an inclusive government.
So why do we hear al-Maliki saying what he said?
Well, what do you expect the Prime Minister to say? The Prime Minister is saying this is not an internal conflict. This is basically coming to us from Syria and also coming to us from the Gulf states, from Qatar and from Iraq and from Saudi Arabia. They are basically exporting their Salafi militant ideology.
And you don't believe that's happening at all?
Well, that's not the question. It is happening. Of course, the spillover of the Syrian conflict, not just into Iraq, into Lebanon as well. But we should not neglect the essence of the crisis in Iraq. It's a severe political crisis. The system is not inclusive. The Sunni Arabs, who are a minority, represents about 18%, do not feel represented. They feel excluded and disfranchised in the post-Saddam Hussein Iraq.
What happens next?
This is why Iraq now is in the eye of the storm. Because, as you said, the conflict spreading into many parts of Iraq. It's no longer in the Sunni-dominated areas here and in Baghdad. It's spreading into the Shia areas all over Iraq. And the reality is, Iraq could easily descend into all-out sectarian strife, given the sectarian polarization that has taken place, not just in Iraq, in Syria and in Lebanon. So the Prime Minister is correct to say that the conflict in Syria has really basically exacerbated the sectarian polarization, but he needs to take into account the political aspirations of the Sunni minority that feels alienated from the political system in Baghdad.